Am I ready to go?
I think Lisa said yes.
Okay, can you hear my microphone okay?
I can hear you.
I got it. I got it here. I turned it on here. And you've got this in front of me.
Yes.
Hi, Todd.
Mic check, is that okay? That's me, right? Yeah.
Lisa, is it turn the mic on? The mics are on.
We need 6.
I think 5 now.
Pardon me?
Originally it was 6. I think we're at 5 now.
Well, I think we went from 11 to 10 with Sue gone. So I think we still need 6. I think 5 is just half of 10. 6. Hi, Todd. How you doing?
I like this. You can just kind of kick me under the thing here if I miss.
So we need one more, I
I
think.
used to have more room in here.
Well, I've had, I better turn the mic off here. Well, good morning. It is the appointed time. We have 5 members of the Citizens Advisory Board here, and we need 6 for a quorum. So we're going to wait for just a couple of minutes so that we can officially start when our 6th member gets here. Carol, we can go ahead with just informational items, anything that doesn't need to be voted on?
We can do the presentations also, she said.
Okay, great. What is the first presentation, David?
Let me look here. So our first presentation will be the water filtration system, so I can call him up.
That'd be great. We've been advised that it's going to be about 15 minutes before we have a quorum, so we're going to go ahead with the presentations. David?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're adding on out at the River Whitewater River Sport Rapids facility is some additional filtration. We have some filtration, but this is at a much higher level, really kind of a secondary treatment. And Tony Blatt from Hornbeak Blatt is here today to go over what's in the plans that we're going to look at today. Once we get a quorum, we'll look at approving those plans and getting those out for bid. So I'd like to turn it over to Tony.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, board members. Tony Blatt, Hornbeak Blatt Architects, 1721 Northwest 180th Street. Yes, so the filtration system that is there, the clarity of the water is not the way that everybody wants it. So this new system is designed to improve the optics, improve the clarity of the water. So if you want to go to the next slide. So what we're doing is we're within the existing pump house, we're going to expand the system, provide new infrastructure that is going to provide that higher level of filtration and that better quality of water. So this document shows the rapids channels. It shows the River Sports building in your lower left. And on the right side, it's got the location of the pump house where the current filtration system is located. And within that building, the new filtration system will be installed. You want to go to the next slide? So as just a schematic diagram, we're going to take water from the existing rapids channel. We're going to run it through the first pump, through the primary filters, and then it'll go through a second pump and through a series of polishing filters. And then at that point, it's going to have the option to bypass or go through a side stream ozonation system before it's brought back into the channel itself. And again, the intent here is just to improve the clarity of the water. So if you want to go to the next slide. So these are the construction documents, and what the intent of this system is we've created a delegated design. Initially, what our engineer looked at was a series of microfiltration membrane systems that would improve this water, but they did a series of tests of the existing water and identified that glass fiber filtration systems would also perform the same level of clarity that we're trying to achieve. So what he's done is a delegated design package that allows different vendors to provide either the microfiltration membrane system or the glass media system, and the intent is then we're going to have better competitive bids throughout this process. These are just the systems, and again, so the systems will be installed inside of the existing building. There will be a steel platform that is going to house this new infrastructure, so we're going to use the volume of the space to put in the new systems. The schedule for this is so we're here today asking that it could go forward to council, these final plans be put out for bid. We would be sending them out and receiving bids in the early part of the year with the intent that construction would be complete in May of this year. The current budget, as proposed by the engineer, is $1.55 million. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
I have a, go ahead.
Go ahead, Todd.
No, you go ahead.
Just make sure I'm understanding correctly. This is in addition to the existing system? It's an
Yes.
add-on to?
Yeah, this is a new element that will work by itself. It'll be an additional level of filtration for the system.
So what's the life expectancy of either the glass media or the membranes?
Well, there will be maintenance on these systems. I don't know the specific life expectancy before those filters would be replaced or what type of maintenance would be involved.
Okay.
I can
But
tell
I
you,
can.
I can tell you that the glass fibers is very much like a sand filter in your swimming pool. So it's a tank that has these glass fibers in it and the water passes through it. and it gets backwashed and flushed out. I don't know what the exact lifespan is. There will be a lifespan on those glass beads, but I think it will be many years.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Thank you.
You're very welcome, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the other presentation we have today is David Hornbeek, and he's going to talk about Wellness Center number 3. And what we have on your agenda today is award of a construction contract based on the bids that we received. So I'd like to invite Mr. Hornbeek up.
Welcome.
Good morning, Chairman, Mr. McDaniel. Always a pleasure to see you, the rest of you members. These are the kinds of presentations that are only better than the very first presentation when we get to show you what we're going to do. But today we opened bids in the first week of January, and in front of you is a list of all of the bids that were opened and tabulated. We had 10 bidders. The difference between the high and the low was less than 10%. And we have selected the low bidder, WL McNatt, or we are recommending to you to select the low bidder, WL McNatt. And their number was low enough that we can also take 4 of the ad alternates that are also shown. And we're recommending that we take 1, 6, 7, and 10. Now, what we're showing you right now is a list of what the ad alternates were. And as I said, we're recommending that we take 1, 6, 7, and 10. And I'll be happy to explain anything about the ad alternates if there's any questions in front of you. Essentially, most of these items were things that were above and beyond the actual building itself. And in this particular case, the Langston University, which is the operator, and the YMCA, which is also going to operate the active side, the fitness side, and the pool. They will be able to be supplied with a new phone system and communications. They'll also be able to have all new computers, servers throughout the administrative offices. They'll have some additional exercise equipment that was above the scope of what we had, but was on the wish list if we could afford it. And the last one is we're going to also provide security video surveillance cameras and a recorder for security purposes in that parking lot. Next slide. Our total budget was $11,717,000. The base bid was $11,541. And the selected ad alternates 1, 6, 7, and 10 are $171,000. Brought our base bid plus alternates to $11,712,000, and we left Mr. Todd $5,000 to as a cushion. We recommend that you pass this, accept this recommendation, and we'll take it to the next slide. Yesterday, we presented this to the subcommittee. Today, we're in front of you. Next Tuesday, we'll be in front of the City Council with your permission and approval. And if so, we expect a notice to proceed construction the day after, and we hope to have this facility constructed in June of 2022, and I hope that you're all there without masks on so I can see your smiles. Do you have any questions of me?
Michael, you have a question? Congratulations. This is great news for us. This has been a long time in the coming, and we're delighted with the report you've given us. Thank you.
Tom, I appreciate that very much, but I also want to tell you that you guys have an incredible staff. David Todd Woodward, Jim Shepard. This thing couldn't have worked better. And we're just fortunate to get to work with you, and we hope we can do some more in the future.
I want to remind everybody that we've got a lot of work to do. There's coordination that still has to happen between the Homeland construction that's underway out there. So that's all been coordinated to this point. David's done a good job working with them. But there's going to be a whole lot of activity right there on that corner in the next 30 days.
Well, we've been waiting a decade to get some activity there, so we're,
I don't wanna
so
forget
we're
Carrie.
delighted to hear that.
And I
this
don't
is
want to
great.
forget giving kudos to Carrie either, because
Okay, thank you. Any
you.
questions? Any other questions for David? Thank you. All right. Any other presentations?
That's all the presentations. I could go ahead and update on projects.
That'd be great, David. This relates to item number, David's monthly report, which is item 11 on your agenda. He's going to go ahead with that then.
So you just saw the report on the filtration at the river, but I can tell you that there's still construction ongoing. With the main building out there, they're making very good progress with that second floor build out. The structural steel is up and the foundations have been poured, and a lot of the interior work on the second floor has been completed or is very near completion. Just got a lot of work outside the balcony that still needs to be poured, and you'll see there's a change order in here today to cover that. As far as the convention center is going great. It's finished. They've already had events in there, ongoing events as we speak. Some of the stuff that was moved from the Cox Center, but also new things. The signage is complete on the south end of the building. I encourage everybody to go look at that shadow sign. It's a very unique sign for us. Robinson Avenue is open to 6th Street. We were able to get the construction fence down before Christmas to open that area up around the park. And then about 3 weeks ago, we got it open to traffic with some temporary striping, and the striping would be finished now if it hadn't been so cold. There's temperature limitations on when we can do the striping. So Robinson is open from the boulevard down to 6th Street, so you can access the parking lot very easily along the front of the building. The concrete is all complete around the roundabout. That's the work that's still underway. I say the paving concrete. There's still some sidewalk pour that needs to happen, and then the backfill and landscaping and things in there. But it's very close to being completed also. 7th Street is taking longer because of all the utilities that have to be in there, the storm sewers specifically. But very happy that we got Robinson back open. Yes, sir.
Is there anything planned in the center of the roundabout? Is it just grass or pavement, or is there a monument?
So
or-
if you saw any of the pictures that have been floating around on the internet, there's a big circle in the roundabout. That hasn't all been poured, so there's an apron that needs to be poured in there. It's called basically a truck apron. So when the trucks come through and
At the corner.
accidentally cut it short, it rides up on that and doesn't rut it. So it will be condensed a little bit, but right now we've provided electricity and water to that interior with the anticipation that somebody wanted to do something. It's been talked about maybe an art piece in there.
Or a fountain or something, yeah.
Well, yesterday, Maureen Heffernan from the Scissortail Park Foundation volunteered to take care of that area as part of the park. So I think that we still need to go through a process whether we want to do just landscaping in there or art. It is certainly a good opportunity to do something instead of just making it grass or concrete. That would be the last thing I'd want to do.
No,
So-
I hadn't heard that, so good.
We're still looking into that. As far as trails and sidewalks, you have an item on here for additional sidewalk engineering, but the West River Trail reroute is underway. They've done considerable work out there, removed some of the old trail and then done a lot of grading for the new trail. So that's well underway, and pleased with how that's going. Senior Wellness, we talked about Wellness Center 3, but we also have construction at Wellness Center 2, which is at Southwest 38th and Walker. The pad has been built, the footings have been dug, and they're doing the underground plumbing. They've done some demo in the locker room, so that is well underway. We've got plans in the office for the renovation of Wellness Center 1, the expansion and renovation, and hope to be bringing that to you next month so we can get that out on the street. And then Wellness 4, which is at 138th and Southwestern. We have plans in our office, 65%, so within a couple of months, we hope to be bringing final plans for that one also to this body. That one is also going very well. Park, we have a few things still going on in the upper park. You have an item on here for a change order today to replace some trees. So the ice storm was rough on some of the trees in the park. For the most part, the park fared really well, but the trees right along the boulevard on the upper park took it badly. And we're going to replace those 16 trees that are right along the boulevard in those tree wells. The foundation is looking at doing some replacements of the trees that's further interior around the cafe area. But those I think they're oaks. They didn't fare real well. Lower Park is under construction right now. Heavy into it. If you go down there, you'll see that everything's being graded. Tons of utilities being put in, storm sewer, sanitary sewer and water lines being rerouted and placed in there. And you can see all the materials that's over there on Walker. So there's a lot of that still to go. You'll see that one of the discussions we had many times throughout the years is salvaging the trees, existing trees. You'll see that there's the orange fence around some of the trees to be salvaged. Unfortunately, some of the trees we were going to save didn't fare well in the ice storm themselves. They went down, so we've lost a few of the trees that we wanted to salvage, but we still have some, and you can see those, like I said, with the fence around them. So very encouraged with what we've got going on at the park. And then streetcar, we are essentially finished with the streetcar. All that work has been completed. We're just looking at buying, Embark, some additional parts, spare parts for the facility. So still, we're a long ways into this program, but we still have a lot going on.
Questions for David? Okay. Are there any subcommittees here that wanted to bring anything before the Citizens Advisory Board that doesn't require action? Any subcommittee reports?
Well, the River Subcommittee met. We didn't have a quorum, but we heard the presentation of the filtration system as well as an update on the work on the second floor and drainage improvements on the island. So those are both progressing as well. So I think both of those items are on the agenda for today.
Well, we also had, we did have a quorum for the Convention Center Subcommittee that met on Tuesday afternoon, and you've already heard what David said about it. Things are going really well. There is an item here. I think we have a couple of items that will come to you with a favorable recommendation from the Convention Center Subcommittee, so I won't try to talk about those, but overall, we're really pleased with how it's going. And just as an interesting aside, you may have read that the Omni Hotel had its opening. David, were you there for that?
I was not. I think it was a very limited crowd.
I think so. I wasn't there either, but I did hear a report from someone who was there, and it was everything that was said was positive. They're opening some of the, well, you read it already, I'm sure, but they're opening some of the restaurants there already. They had 100 guests on opening night, and the reviews it got from those who did attend were all very, very positive. And at some point, it would be, when the situation permits, it'd be great for us all to, when we're going to take our next look at the convention center, to maybe include the hotel as a part of that. David, you might give them just a minute of the what's going on Cornett lane there. Or is it Cornet Street or Cornet Lane? The
Yes, I'm
shape?
sorry, I left that out. On Cornet Drive, which was formerly 4th Street, that's currently under construction. I encourage you to get by there and see it. Those structures that we approved as shades are going up. They had 7 of them up as of yesterday, might have 8 up today. And when you see them, they're primed, they're still gray, they'll be painted white. But I think they're turning out to be everything that we had hoped they are, and maybe even more. They are a fantastic addition to that street, and will make that a really special place to congregate.
David mentioned that street is open, Robinson is open there, so you can go down it, which I did yesterday or Tuesday, and it's really going to be really quite a nice addition to just a plain drive through there, and a lot of shade, and I think the architectural design is going to be something everybody's going to really like. It's going to be something really special, I think, and I'm glad we were able to get that done.
Right, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Mr. Chairman. Just to reiterate, what was 4th Street has been renamed by City Council as Mick Cornett Drive in honor of our former mayor.
That's the street between the hotel and the convention center.
Yes, sir. I might also add that the parking garage is open now. Anybody needs, has parking needs in that area, that is open, and the surface lot is accessible now. So essentially about 1,300 new parking spaces right in that general area.
That would be good for Thunder games if we were having Thunder games.
Well, you're exactly right. Yeah, we got them just in the nick of time.
David, you said that there have been some events at the convention center already. What type of events have we had?
I know there's been several. The only one I specifically know is a cheerleading contest that was originally scheduled at the Cox Convention Center and moved over to the new convention center. So they had that about 10 days ago.
Cecilia, welcome, and thank you for making the effort to be here. You may be the only one on the panel here that has a day job. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, maybe Todd. Yeah. Okay, 2 or 3 of us don't have a day job. Anyway, we appreciate you making the effort to come. What we have done to this point is we've had the presentations made on the items. So as we go through this, if you have any specific questions, we're going to start just with the items that are required for approval. And if you need any questions answered, don't hesitate. All right then, Carol, I believe we have a quorum, so we're going to call the meeting to order. You have been furnished with copies of the minutes of our December 17th meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Shall we approve them? It's been moved by Todd Stone, seconded by Bob Nalen. Is there further discussion? All in favor say yay.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Okay, the motion passed. The minutes are approved. That brings us to item 3. First, paragraph A. David?
So you have in your packet the budget and obligations report for the period ended January 15th, and then we also have 2 revenue and expenditure reports. So I'll go over the most recent revenue and expenditure report for the period ending December 31st, 2020. So for the month, on the revenue side, $127,263. For the fiscal year, $819,443. And total program of $835,711,386. On the expenditure side for the month, $11,982,448, with the bulk of that being the convention center. Fiscal year of $38,957,299. and totaled $717,938,543. And then, as I said, you also have the budget and obligations report, and you can see the numbers on that. If anybody has any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Questions? Shall we receive it? Been moved by Mike Adams that we receive the report, seconded by Todd Stone. Cast your vote.
And I need a voice vote, yes.
I believe it passed. Is that right, Lisa? All right. That, the report is received. That brings us to item B under number 3, David.
Item 3B is recommend approval of change order number 3. Project M3-R008, MAPS 3 Whitewater Facility, second floor renovation, 800 Riversport Drive, increase of $71,013.80, Ward 7. So there's various items on here for the construction that I mentioned previously that's ongoing with the Riversport Rapids building. There's some drainage revisions. Some inlets had to be moved because they didn't tie in exactly to, how should I explain this? The plans and what was built was slightly off, not significant enough to make a difference, but it required some more materials, and it was a little different to tie in. There was a modification that was requested for the deck installation and the ceiling, and then the operator asked that some lockers be relocated. So these are those small cubby type lockers. They're like 12 by 12, and they're just made to put your keys and your wallet in. They were out by the raft building. So they found that they're a little hard for people to find, and now with the addition of the surf machine out there, needed to bring those closer up to the building so that they're a little easier to find and accessible for the people that are using the surf machine also. So they asked us to relocate those. There was some security access that needed to be revised. So if you have any questions beyond that, I'll try to answer it.
Questions for David? Zane Boatright has moved that we approve this, seconded by Michael Adams. Is there further discussion? Cast your vote.
Yes.
It's been approved.
Yes, I logged out, so I'm having to log back in.
Everybody okay? All right. Then let's go to item C. And before David starts, Cecilia, I just wanted to tell you that we heard a very good presentation about what's being done here with the filtration system. David's going to explain it, but Tony is here who can answer any questions that we have about it if you have some. David?
So item C is recommend approval of final plans and specifications to be advertised for bids. Project M3-R009C, MAPS 3 Oklahoma River Sports Water Filtration Systems Improvements, 800 Riversport Drive, Ward 7. So as Mr. Blatt pointed out in his presentation, that there's filtration that exists there, but the filtration is not at a level that we have discovered is needed for the particles that enter the water out there. So this is a secondary filtration system that will remove, I believe it's down to 5 microns now, maybe even down to 3 microns. And previously we had 10. So we've been looking forward to getting this out so we can get that water cleaned up, and we recommend approval.
Questions for David? All right, it's been moved by Michael Adams that we approve this recommendation, and it's been seconded by Zane Boatright. Is there further discussion? Cast your ballot.
Yes.
It's been approved? All right. Item C is approved. That brings us to item D, David.
Item D is recommend approval of real estate purchase agreement and accepting warranty deed 11501 North Rockwell Avenue, project M3-H002B, MAPS 3 Senior Health and Wellness Center number 1, additional improvements, $135,000, Ward 8. So as we go about providing the additional improvements out there at Wellness Center 1, we have additional parking and we have some additional buildings, and that expanded our footprint just a little bit, and we had to purchase more land from the church next door. So this is for that land purchase.
David, were we sharing a parking lot at some part of the time with them when this started?
It's always been the plan that overflow parking would go into that church parking lot. We have our own dedicated parking, and this will, with the expansion, will provide additional parking along with some additional handicap spaces. But fortunately, it appears it's never enough. So I think that they'll still be using overflow in the church, but this does provide more parking that's right next to the building.
Has there, has the great demand that we saw there continued even during this difficult year?
I don't know for sure, but I believe that they still are operating with precautions and doing everything they can, but they're still very active out there.
Okay, further questions for David? Shall we approve it? It's been moved by Bob Nayland, second by Todd Stone, that we approve. Further discussion? Cast your vote.
Yes.
It is approved. That brings us then to item E.
Pardon me. Item E is recommend ratifying and approving addenda numbers 1, 2, and 3, project M3-H004, MAPS 3 Senior Health and Wellness Center number 3, 3820 North Lincoln Boulevard, awarding contract, base bid plus alternates 1, 6, 7, and 10 to W.L. McNatt and Company, $11,712,000, and approving contracts and bonds, Ward 7. So you saw, with the exception of Cecilia, you saw the presentation from Mr. Hornbeek. Very excited to get this project underway. I can't wait. I think that Hornbeek Blatt has designed us a beautiful building. I think it'll be a real iconic building right there at that corner. I want to point out that I'm very encouraged that we had not only 10 bidders, but we had contractors that typically don't bid a project of this size that showed real interest in it. And then those bids were extremely tight. You know, $20,000 between bids on $11 million is next to nothing. So then in addition to that, W.L. McNatt has built the other 2 senior wellness centers that turned out great. So I'm very pleased with the whole process. So I would ask your approval.
Cecilia, I want to give you a chance to comment on that. I know that's one you've had a particular interest in and in your subcommittee.
Yes, I was actually present for yesterday's meeting, so I did see the presentation. So just glad to see the building making progress and us moving in the right direction. So.
Thank you. All right, then shall we approve it? Bob Nayland's moved approval, seconded by Cecilia. Further discussion? Cast your ballot.
Thank you.
It's approved. All right, that brings us to item F. And thank you, David, for being here today. Appreciate it.
Item F is recommend approval of amendment number 10 to Architectural Services Contract, Populous Incorporated, project M3-C003, MAPS 3 Convention Center, 500 South Robinson Avenue, increase of $200,000, Ward 7. So the convention center was originally scheduled to be finished, I think, in about May of last year. It extended on into November, and then we're still working on punch list items. So the architect has had not only their local representative, but their national firm representative here during all this extra time. So they've had tremendous amount of extra time walking along with us, finishing up this project. So they've asked for additional compensation through negotiation. We feel that it is certainly warranted, not only based on just the time and what they've actually done, but the job that they've done. It's certainly warranted. So I'd ask your approval on this.
Yeah, I might add, the subcommittee looked very favorably upon this. We had the luxury of having the bids come in low, and we had lots of things to add, lots of add alternates, and the architects have just done a magnificent job of staying with us as we've done this extra work. During this particular year, there didn't seem to be a big rush to get it dedicated under the circumstances, so it gave us a lot of time to carefully look at those add alternates, and we had the money to do it. And so the architects have done a particularly great job for us, and we approved this unanimously yesterday. Shall we approve it? It's been moved by Zane Boatwright, seconded by Cecilia Robinson Woods, that we approve it. Is there further discussion? Cast your vote. It's approved. That brings us then to item G.
So item G is recommend approval of change order number 35, project M3-C003, MAPS 3 Convention Center, 500 South Robinson Avenue, increase of $42,450, Ward 7. So continuing on with Convention Center, there are 215 boxes that are in the floor of the exhibit hall. You know, those metal boxes that you probably saw walking around. There's 180 of them that refer to this issue here. So in that box, there's electric and there's a drain, a water drain on the other side. And each of those boxes not only provides the power and internet and drain over here, but they also give the opportunity for the operator to send more power to a different part of the room without running a cable across the floor. So each of those boxes has a hole that sits like this in it, and it's between the power and the drain. And they're able to pass a larger cable from box to box to box. Let's say they wanted to put a stage at one end of the exhibit hall, but they needed 200 amps of power because they were going to have light show and sound system and all that. They could run this excess power through these boxes, and that's why there's this hole. I believe it's a 4-inch hole. Allows them to pass through all the boxes and not be seen. We're concerned of having electric here and water splashing here when there isn't a cable going through there, that there might be an opportunity when somebody's draining something for that water to splash over into the electric part of the box. So we asked the contractor to come up with a solution, and what they've come up with is a plate that rotates around with a screw and a wing nut on it and lets that seal up and lets us separate completely the drain side and the power side. And they've got to go back and retrofit 180 of these boxes, and that's what this is for. So I may have told you more than you cared to know, but I wanted you to know why at the last minute we're coming back with this additional money. And we think it's definitely warranted. It's a safety issue, and we'd ask your approval.
Questions for David? This was approved unanimously by the Convention Center Subcommittee Tuesday as well. Shall we approve it? It's been moved by Bob Nayland, seconded by Todd Stone. Further discussion? Cast your vote. It passed. All right, David, that takes us under Roman numeral 3 to item H.
Item H is recommend approval of change order 3 and amendment number 4, projects M3-C010, WC0979, DC030, 0303, WC0970, PC0728. MAPS 3, South Robinson Avenue, reconstruction and resurfacing, water line replacement, and storm sewer relief main, South Robinson Avenue, between the Oklahoma City Boulevard and I-40, a decrease of $33,833.12. So I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting the progress on Robinson. This work all has to do with 7th Street. There's a lot of stuff down there, a lot of telecommunications, a lot of water lines and things. I think I skipped one in here. So we've got telecommunications, manhole and conduits. We've got fire hydrant relocation. There is time extensions because of adverse weather. You know, when you're doing a roadway job like that, it may rain one day and cost you 3 because it stays so muddy and you can't get out there. Fireline, irrigation, and landscape replacements. The big thing on here is a credit of $72,000. And when we did Robinson Avenue, we knew that the Memorial Marathon was going to run through that area, and we were concerned that we would have an adequate surface for them to run on. So we put in some temporary asphalt as an alternate. Therefore, our pricing was separated. We didn't need to use that because of the cancellation of the memorial, so we're getting that credit back. I want to point out that most of the items on here are going to be reimbursed to MAPS. So our partnership with the Utilities Department on the water lines and Public Works with the storm sewer, we're fronting the money. So it looks like on here that we're only netting a credit of $33,000, but we're really going to net a credit of about $60,000 once we get our reimbursements. So the short of it is there's a $72,000 credit. Most of the items on here are paid by other departments.
I think it's noteworthy that we've never turned down a credit. And we're not going, all right, shall we approve this? It's been moved by Zane Boatwright, seconded by Cecilia Robinson Woods, that we approve item H. Further discussion? Cast your ballot. It passed. That brings us to item I.
Itemized, recommend approval of change order number 20, project M3-P006, WC0920, Maps 3, Scissortail, Upper Park, 300 Southwest 7th Street, increase of $40,039.17, Ward 6. So I mentioned in my update report about the trees. So there's $28,425.25 for replacement of trees along the boulevard because of the ice storm. And then there's a controller in the fountain still working on renovating that fountain due to the sewer backup and the water issue that we had in that last winter. So that covers that. We'd ask your approval.
Questions? Shall we approve it? Cecilia Robinson Woods moved we approve it, second by Bon Nalen. Is there further discussion? Cast your vote. It passed. That brings us to item J.
Item J is recommend receiving consultant review committee report project M3-W005, Maps 3, Sidewalk, Phase 4 improvements, and authorized negotiation of an engineering services contract with Kimley Horn and Associates Incorporated, Wards 1, 7, and 8. So this is a project that we're adding more sidewalks because we had money left over from what we've already accomplished. So we're trying to finish all that out. We went through the usual process through Public Works on selecting a consultant, which included advertising it, shortlisting 3 firms, and doing interviews. Mr. Boatwright was involved in the interviews along with Russell Pace from the Trails and Sidewalks Subcommittee, and they ultimately decided that Kimley Horn should be recommended for the project. I'll try to answer any questions if you have them.
Questions?
Is this our last sidewalk project then?
Yeah, it should be. And it'll probably get us 2.5 or 3 more miles of sidewalk, just depending on the difficulty of the site.
You identified the sites.
We're working with Planning and Public Works on their list from Better Streets, Safer City and trying to continue with that list.
David, I know that there is that list, but one of the first items that we did in this endeavor was to develop a long-term strategic plan for sidewalks. I think as we get near the end of this, it would be great, maybe if the subcommittee would ask to put together kind of a status of how we did on hitting the goal that we had in that strategic plan. I mean, it wasn't ever intended it would do everything we need to do for 50 years, but there was a plan, and I think it'd be good to measure ourselves to how we did with that plan at some point. You agree with that, Zane? I do. Okay. Well, when it's convenient, that'd be great for us to hear.
Okay.
All right. It's been moved that we approve this by Zane Boatwright, seconded by Michael Adams. Is there further discussion? Cast your ballot. It passed. All right, that brings us then to item 4 on the agenda, which is there any new business to come before the Citizens Advisory Board?
We don't have any.
All right, no new business. That brings us then to item 5, and I will just mention there, Cecilia, that we talked about this before we formally started the meeting, and we heard comments about subcommittees. Is there anything additional from any subcommittee that they'd want to add? Okay, then that brings us then to item 6, which is David's report. And Cecilia, I'll just tell you again, he made that report before, and he has it well versed and would be glad to meet with you afterwards and go through it in every detail. So that brings us then to item number 7.
I do have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
For David. At the last meeting, I think we talked a little bit about the Wellness Center number 2 and the operator, I guess, had canceled their operating agreement. Do you have any update or status on that?
I don't really have any, I'm not in that loop per se. I believe they're still operating down there and are going to continue for a while longer.
So we're not locking the doors.
No.
Okay. Any other comments by the board? Staff comments? Carol, are we okay? Thank you. This is also the time when citizens that are here today that would like to be heard by the Citizens Advisory Board are welcome to offer any comments or ask any questions. Are there any citizens that want to be heard? Hearing none, then, that brings us to item 8 on the agenda, which is adjournment. Shall we adjourn? We are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.